In previous video, we reached at this equation, and this is the perturb equation, but written in terms of fixed state. And the meaning is this has become a linear equation now. Linear equation. So let me just simplify it further. The reason is we want to write this equation in terms of velocity u and pressure p so that it becomes an acoustic equation. Acoustic equation. Okay, so where to start now? Previously, we saw that the p was equal to some quantity which was coming from equation of state. We saw that p was equal to small p was equal to k hat rho gamma, and this is equal to capital P, and capital P is a function of rho. And this same quantity, this capital P, has been appeared over here, but with derivative P dash rho naught. So this is a capital P. Okay. So what we have now, we have P is equal to capital P dash rho, and we perturb, or we write this as a sum of P naught fixed state, and then we write, I'm sorry, there is no P dash, it is P tilde equal to P rho naught plus rho tilde. As you know that whenever there is a sum, so we can apply Taylor series on this equation. So the Taylor series will be P rho naught plus capital P dash rho naught and rho tilde. How there is a rho tilde? As I explained in previous video, you take a difference between the perturbed quantity, change in rho quantity, minus rho naught. These two will be cancelled out and you get rho tilde. Since we know that P is equal to capital P rho, and if it is on the right hand side, if it is rho naught, then this become P naught. So this P naught will be equal to capital P rho naught, and this P rho naught and this will be cancel out, and finally we get P tilde will be equal to P dash rho naught rho tilde. Similarly, let me just introduce a new variable. What we achieve first, just I need to discuss this equation first. What we achieved over here, the pressure P is written in terms of density. It means that we can replace the density rho, which is perturbed density, with P tilde, which is small p tilde pressure, and this is also capital P dash rho naught over here. So that was the aim. So we achieve one aim over here. Now there is another quantity that we have to change, which is this one. For that, what we have first, we have rho u. This is not rho u tilde, remember that. We will find out why we have taken rho u without tilde. Rho will be equal to rho naught plus rho tilde. U will be equal to u naught plus u tilde, and we multiply these two equations. Rho naught u naught, when these two multiply together, we get rho naught u naught plus, then we have rho naught u tilde from this term, then we have rho tilde u naught, and we have rho tilde u tilde, rho tilde u tilde. Okay, so let me just give you another example. I have to show something from here. When we write rho, that rho will be equal to rho naught plus rho tilde. Rho will be equal to rho naught plus rho tilde. When we have pressure, then that equals P naught plus P tilde. Similarly, when we have rho u, this is rho u, and there is a fixed rho naught u naught, so the next quantity will become rho tilde u tilde. But the reason is this is not rho tilde u tilde. There are two other terms as well. So we only need this term from these three terms. As you know that when we have rho, rho naught plus rho tilde, this is a perturbation. And remember that the perturbation is always far less than the fixed quantity, since it is a very small quantity. So it means that this rho naught u tilde will be less than from rho tilde u tilde, and similarly this quantity will be less than rho tilde u tilde. So we write the rho naught u tilde will be far less than rho tilde u tilde. I'm sorry, I should write it other way. Rho tilde, since it is small, rho tilde u tilde is far less than rho naught u tilde, and similarly we have rho tilde u tilde far less than rho tilde u naught. Okay, if you want to really understand either this is true or not, consider rho naught is equal to 1.2 and u naught is equal to 10, and perturbed quantity is equal to 0.012 since it is very small, and u perturbed quantity is 0.34. If you put all these values over here in this expression, we get 0.00408, which is less than 0.408, and similarly 0.00408, which is less than 0.12. Okay, so first thing, we know that this is rho tilde u tilde is required. Not this term, but this whole term should be first approximated by some other expression which has been written over here. So if this quantity is smaller than this one and this quantity, we can write rho u, rho naught u naught plus rho naught u tilde, rho tilde u naught. Okay, and then you put all these values. This is tilde, remember that this is tilde, and we put all these values into equation 1 and equation in the second equation number 2, call it equation number 2. For example, I just put all these values in equation number 1. Partial by partial t, rho tilde will be equal to, from here rho tilde will be equal to p tilde divided by p dash rho naught. P tilde uh, p tilde p dash rho naught plus partial by partial x, rho u tilde will be equal to, since we already shown that this quantity is rho tilde u tilde. Okay, rho tilde u tilde, not rho tilde u tilde, simply rho u whole tilde. Probably this was the error actually, which I said pronounced in with a mistake. It should be rho u whole tilde, not this rho tilde and u tilde. Let me just explain it again so you do not get confused. Rho u will be equal to rho naught u naught plus rho u whole tilde. It should be whole tilde. Okay, so this whole quantity should be rho u tilde. Okay, then we put the value of rho u tilde equal to rho naught. Maybe just I write it first, I write the correct form. This quantity will be equal to rho u whole tilde will be equal to rho naught u tilde plus rho tilde u naught. And when we put this into equation 1, we get partial by partial t, rho tilde will be equal to p tilde over p dash rho naught from here. Then similarly plus partial by partial x, and this you put this rho u tilde into this term, and we get rho naught u tilde plus rho tilde u naught is equal to 0. We multiply this equation with p dash rho naught since it is just a constant, partial by partial t p tilde plus p dash rho naught. I'm sorry, p dash is a function of rho naught. Rho naught is a constant, partial by partial x u tilde plus u naught is a constant multiplied with p dash rho naught and partial rho tilde by partial x is equal to 0. Okay, if I just call uh, there should be one quantity that I want to replace. This row should also be equal to p tilde over p dash rho naught. So we get partial p tilde by partial t plus we call this quantity as k naught. Okay, so we write k naught partial u tilde by partial x plus, and remember this p dash and that p dash will be cancelled out and we get u naught partial p tilde by partial x is equal to 0.